like people just assume, well, if you kill dead, animals when you're a kid. I'm gonna kill Scooby and Hunter, and I'm gonna consume him. Now, when I kill Hunter, though, I'm gonna consume him, and it has to be fine dining because he's a chef. Yes, I'm a dork. Yes, I'm a nerd. All right, this one is about serial killers, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Mac. And oh, beautiful. Thank you, man. Yes, we have a very beautiful audience out here. Thank all of you and stuff. But yes, we will be talking about serial killers and how they've made an impression on our society and why we are so enamored by them. But before we begin with that,
if you're a serial Bridge the Gap listener and you haven't got tuned in and tapped into all the social medias, make sure y'all do that. I'm at Scooby the Kid 252, at Chef Mac 1523, at Oso Shy 11, at Bill_Perry, at Bridge the Gap 77. We bring in new ill content every week.
That's right, baby.
How are we doing this week? It's been a while. Well,
start around here with the lady.
I'm doing fine. This weekend was probably one of the strangest weekends of my life, but yeah, it's good, and so I'm glad to be here with you guys.
I definitely got a whopper for this one. While I was out filming my new film, they found me. Vengeance coming soon. The FBI and the local police department came on my set because we were using gun props while we were shooting a scene. And yeah, it got pretty real, but it was all good. Nothing happened. It didn't escalate.
Maybe it was a full moon this weekend.
But yeah, just a lot of craziness. We filmed stuff this weekend, so it's been a very accomplished weekend. We went and did some recording for Shy's new album down in Vicksburg, Mississippi. It's just been great. We brought these guys to life with their characters in my film, as well as Shy and some other people. But I'm going to stop now because I would talk about my film all day.
I went to therapy, which is really dope. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I feel like anybody out there, everyone should go to therapy because it's good to get things off of your chest. You know,
I can see it in your eyes, man. I can tell you're feeling better.
So much better. Just to get things off your chest. It makes you feel a lot better. And get out the house too. That's one thing I've been doing a little bit more. I got the studio in my house, I sleep in my house. So it's like you got to get out. So those two things that I've been doing this week that.
Well, good for you, man. Good for you seeking therapy.
I've had a good week. Enjoyed it. Had a few weird instances in school that I've told them about. Read an essay. Got told that it was on the wrong topic. Now I got to write the essay again. Filmed. How long was it? We filmed for 5 hours the other day.
Yes, 5 hours.
I enjoyed every minute of it though.
Same here.
But yeah, I've had a pretty good week so far.
No doubt, man. Well, and we hope all of you out there have had a great week, and we hope that you're all out there staying healthy. Keep yourself sanitized still, practice protocol and all that kind of stuff when you're out and about.
That's the contest this week. We want y'all to tell us how your week has been.
That's a good one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have arrived at the topic at hand, serial killers, and why they make such an impression on our society. And why, we're into them, even though they do these horrific things. And, we'll also talk about the fiction aspect of it. You see, I got the hockey mask on. But me personally, I wanted to actually begin with Jack the Ripper. Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird favorite to have.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Jack the Ripper, for a lot of you that don't know, was killing back, I believe, in the the latter part of the 19th century. And he essentially just killed prostitutes, and he slaughtered them. He disemboweled them, sliced their throats, this and that and the other. But the kicker is we never found out who he was. They never captured the son of a bitch. And
I think
to this day, it's just one of the greatest mysteries of all time. Who was Jack the Ripper? There's rumors that he actually was a dentist that was affiliated with the European Masonic Order and was connected to the royals and all this, and that's why his secret was able to be buried. Conspiracy theory, which was last week.
I didn't even know who Jack the Ripper was. Besides, just for some reason that was in my mind when I was real young. One of my first bars was I'm gonna murder the game. You can call me Jack the Ripper. And as you're saying that, I'm yeah, that's kind of how I want to do it.
LL Cool J had a song called Jack the Ripper.
No shit.
And they just keep saying that over and over. Remember? Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper. Jack, to Shibbity Jack, Jack. Yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. I went back into my 80s and 90s there.
But that's the fascination that we've always had.
That's what I'm saying.
Make songs about that.
I mean, the reason why Friday the 13th had so many movies because they kept trying to get more ingenious about bringing that son of a bitch back to life. This guy would get shot. Oh, no, well, the crowd likes him. We got to bring him back. Get axed in the head. No. They literally blew Jason up. The first, I don't know, part 8 or 9 or something, the very first part of the movie, the military blew him up. Guess how they brought him back? As a haunting spirit.
Oh shit.
A haunting spirit. Now you see my face, and I'm the biggest Jason fan of all time. But even I was like, what? You know, I mean, come on, y'all. Y'all are just reaching to kill him off already.
They literally sent him to hell.
Yeah, they sent him to hell. I mean, oh man. But guess what? Another movie came out because now he's in space.
No,
he was in space. Some kind of way he got out of hell, and now he's on a spacecraft. And, oh man. But at any rate, but that's just that particular lore. But just overall, you know, you're talking about Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers. Michael Myers and Jason Moore particularly, I think, align with the serial killer motif, and to kind of bring it back to the more, you know, the real cats like, you know, Jack the Ripper, and then moving on up. Like, see, that was going on in Europe, but like H.H. Holmes here, you know, Triple H, the original Triple H, he was considered the first serial killer here in America, and he was killing during the Chicago's World's Fair's time,
1893,
and like he essentially, like, you know, renovated this entire building and turned it into a killing place.
The murder castle.
Yeah, murder castle. And each room had different ways of killing you: gas, you know, suffocation, electrocution.
Yeah. So it's like a real life Saw.
Yeah, it was a real life Saw, with the exception of not the elaborate gadgets, but yeah, he had peeping holes to watch you die. You know, gas fumes coming in there, watching you die from the gas fumes, get electrocuted, maybe give you poison, watch you die slowly in the room, and you can't get out trying to get something to, you know, help you. But that's how he killed you.
Like a maze. You thought maybe you could get out this.
Yeah, he had trick places, like he had steps that went to nowhere. And then look, even more insidious, he was a doctor. So after these people would die, he would, you know, do an autopsy and stuff, you know, take out all the, but then he would clean off all the meat off of the bones, sell the bones to schools. There ain't no telling what university, you know, you remember back in the day where skeletons would be hanging?
I thought they were fake, so there was some of them was real.
They were real, and some of them could have been H.H. Holmes.
I think the one that was in our biology class.
That was real.
Yeah,
and Miss Hill. Well, yeah,
No, Miss Hill, that's her name.
Yeah, Miss Hill. Miss Hill was the one for biology. Miss Metz was the one that used to be Miss Michaeletti, and then she got married.
Oh, okay. No, it was Miss Hill.
Yeah, Miss Hill was, and yes, that real skeleton in there. We had a name for him. I forgot what we called him. But think about it like this: what if that was a donation from H.H. Holmes from years ago? Some victim of homicide, you know what I'm saying? A serial killer, and we studied his bones and named him Fred.
Talking about H.H. Holmes real quick, if you want to learn more about him, there's this show. I recommend watching the show. It's called Timeless, and it's really interesting. I'm not gonna get into the plot, but season 1, episode 11 delves deep into H.H. Holmes. Like, they're literally at the World's Fair as he is killing, which is pretty cool.
And see, the thing about H.H. Holmes, he was insidious on a lot of different levels. You know, that was his fascination with murder. But before he even stepped there, he was actually figuring out a way to defraud insurance companies.
I was gonna say, he was a con
He would
artist.
take insurance companies out on those dead bodies and stuff and everything, and would claim them as family victims and pull in, get insurance from them. I think he put insurance on the bodies and then claimed that they would die and then collect the
And then
insurance from
sold
it.
their bones.
And then sold their bones, so he made that profit from selling the bones to universities, as well as making money from the insurance companies, as well as getting away with murder for a while. And guess what? When he was caught, he didn't regret it. He's like, I think one of his famous quotes was like, "I always knew the devil was in me. I always knew the devil was in me."
It seems like if you were like a mercenary or a hitman for hire, it's like he seems like he liked the money more than he liked to kill, arguably.
Yeah.
Well, this guy killed like.
He liked watching you die.
He killed like, they believe, over 200 people, right?
Possibly because of all the disappearance of people that disappeared during the World's Fair, and a lot of them wasn't accounted for in regards to if they met their demise by him or if they were just missing
He
persons.
confessed to 27, but there were a lot of missing people in that.
And I mean, this guy created a castle. You know, he killed more than 20-something
Yeah.
people in that damn building.
But
you know what
so
I'm saying?
I can't ever find the documentary again. But it's funny. So me and him just took a drive around a neighborhood that he used to work with, and we had this conversation: is can you be born psycho or are you made psycho? And H.H. Holmes became the topic, and I told him about a documentary I saw about H.H. Holmes where they believe his first kill was when he was 7.
Yeah, I got a pretty extensive thing about him and a lot of other serial killers in this documentary I have, and you're right. And the thing is, there was a term back in the day where they were talking about, I can't think of the actual phrase, but it was like essentially meaning people that were born with it, you know, that they were born with the devil in them.
Born with it, and they can be led that way. I just want to change serial killers for a second, because when you said that, I thought about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh yeah.
Now his father, I forgot what he did.
He was a dentist, I believe.
Okay, yeah, but when he saw that his son was interested in bones and cleaning, he encouraged it.
Yeah, he
because
thought it was like
that,
going into anatomy maybe or something.
And that's such a fine line, because you don't really know that you're
See, and that wasn't, as we know with Dahmer, it was definitely beyond that. But before we go that far into the
But he
future,
was already like picking up dead animals.
Yeah, he was doing that when he was a child. And that's a lot of the roots of a lot of these serial killers. It's not, from what I've seen from certain scholars of this, they say that that's not necessarily always a root. Like people just assume, well, if you kill dead, animals when you were a kid. I have friends who did some atrocious shit to animals, and they got jobs and families right now, and they never thought about killing people. So you can't really. You remember that one episode where I was talking about what I used to do with insects? You know what I'm saying? And if you was to triangulate that and put a profile on me, you go, oh, well, he had an 85% chance of being a serial killer. I have never thought about killing people like that. Yeah. I mean, we've all thought about, say, got red eyes and murder. But I'm saying, like, I've never had fantasies of getting away with multiple murder. I've never had those kind of fantasies. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't a precursor.
And it's something, I think, a little deeper. They get something out of it.
They get something out of it.
Yeah, it's like
there's a gratification.
Right.
Some of them it's sexual. Some of them it's just ego trip. That there's varying things. And now that we're kind of moving along to kind of go say midstream from where we were at with H.H. Holmes, this is kind of getting into maybe the 50s, I believe, with Ed Gein. Now, Ed Gein was the one that the movie Psycho was based off of.
He's a big dude, right?
No, Ed Gein was he wasn't a very small guy, but he wasn't a big guy either, an average guy.
Bill, I was literally just about to say something about Norman Bates, too.
Well, this movie, it was based off of this guy. And guess what? Ed Gein exhibited a lot of those attributes. He wore his mom's clothes. Mm-hmm. He went out to the graveyards and exhumed dead bodies. Now, I'm about to mess you up right quick. Guess what he would do when he would go to the graveyards? Mm. He exhumed different dead bodies, but when he exhumed females, when he took them out, he didn't want to take the female body. He cut their vulvas and took their vulvas with him.
Like, yeah.
There.
Yeah, that, what? Just that part? Just like.
They left their bodies.
That's weird.
For anyone that just heard that, I am so sorry. Parental discretion is advised for this episode. Do not be 16 watching this and then blame me for corrupting your mind and tell your mom, I learned this on that podcast. It was that one guy. And no, don't blame me. This is shit that's out there, But yeah, this guy was very disturbed, and the movie Psycho is based a lot about that. He supposedly had conversations with himself where he played his mother, just like Norman Bates did in Psycho. And the thing about some of these serial killers, just like with Ed Gein, the reason why we know that is they give you all that information. Yeah. It's interesting how they want to tell you so much about that, because a lot of the cases maybe they wouldn't heard.
Yeah.
And it plays a part of their construct of wanting to, be seen and heard, and that attention. Like I think you mentioned that about the Night Stalker one time on one of our episodes.
You know that he was on my list, Richard Ramirez.
For me and Shy, it's a personal thing, because he was killing during the time that we lived in LA. Like, there was 2 serial killers that are major that was around when we actually lived in LA, the Night Stalker and the Blackout Killer. And the Blackout Killer would knock out the power in neighborhoods and then go into a house and kill. And he came, I think, either the same time or sometime after the Night Stalker. Both killers, I believe, if not mistaken, were in LA.
Yeah, they were in LA.
Yeah, definitely Night Stalker. The Blackout one, I can't remember too much details to that one. But
That's so smart. Like,
but
that's
yeah, we lived in cities where Night Stalkers were at, dude.
Yeah, like the idea of them being that smart. Like, okay, I'm gonna go turn the power off, and then I'm gonna go in the house.
Well, see, the Night Stalker flipped the script because, see, like y'all grown up with like the horror movies of the killer coming into your home and getting you and all this.
Like Scream.
Yeah. All right. So check this out. Up for a long time, that ain't the way serial killers got you. They got you out and about. And it wasn't about being scared being in your house until Richard Ramirez, at least in America. I mean, maybe in other parts of the world that was going on already. But in America, the Night Stalker finally made you feel like, oh, it ain't getting caught in a dark alley anymore. I can be coming home or literally be in my bed and a motherfucker can kill me. That changed the game, you know what I'm saying? And now it's like a standard, but it wasn't a standard back then. You know, Richard Ramirez changed that shit. Motherfucker, he's dead now, by the way.
I have to say this one. I don't remember the killer's name or what he went by, but there's this story of, I guess he was going around killing women or, stuff like that. And there's a story where he maybe wrote the paper or something, and he said, look, if everybody plays jazz, in New Orleans.
Oh, shit, you told me about this guy.
Yeah, we won't kill you. I won't kill you.
American Horror Story did an episode about him.
Really?
Where they loosely used his character because he runs around with like I think a sax case or some kind of like instrument case. But I think they're alluding with him being that killer because American Horror Story borrowed bits and pieces of real killers and kind of added in, and they used that guy. And it was all about, if you don't listen to jazz, I'll kill your ass.
Yeah, and if you're not playing jazz this particular night, I'm gonna come to your house.
There was a killer that we get your ass in. Now, I'm a jazz musician. For all you hardcore rappers out there, I dare you to find a rapper that was a serial killer. All right, you want to talk about how hard y'all are? Jazz, we got serial killers over here, motherfuckers.
And then jazz was blaring all night. Guess what? Nobody got killed.
Shit. But fuck around and play some Merle Haggard. Your ass is done in.
I think that was the late 1800s.
Late
early
1800s?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's like Dixieland jazz even.
No. No, what am I thinking? Jazz.
No, I'm saying, but there was jazz around, but it was just.
This was like the 20s, maybe, I think.
So you're like the golden era of jazz.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the way the character looked, he looked like some 20s kind of dude. You know what I'm saying? But to get back into the real killers and stuff, was talking about Ed Gein. Another thing that this guy did, he collected what they call trophies. He collected the skulls and stuff like that. Something that people like Jeffrey Dahmer and stuff like that did later. And like say with John Wayne Gacy, for example, who killed little boys there in Illinois, he buried the little boys under his house. And guess how he got caught? He invited the sheriff over or some police person, I think it was a high-ranking person like that, over to his house, and the smell got to him, and he's trying to figure out what it was. He was talking to his wife about it, and it finally dawned on him, and I think it was the smell of the lie trying to cover the smell or something like that, and it was both kind of juxtaposed. You could smell both. At any rate, they come back, they dig up under his house. For those that do know the story, they found like 30, 40 dead bodies.
Young boys.
Crazy.
Not boys, but teenagers.
This guy was on the fucking Republican, some main division of the Republican Party and stuff there in Illinois. He even took a picture with the first lady, I forget her name, that was married to Jimmy Carter. Had a picture with her or something like this. Well prominent guy. But here's the kicker. This is the main thing that most that know about him. He was a local clown. He went around and did clowns and stuff for parties for little kids.
That's how he was getting them?
Not though, they wasn't that young. He was getting teenagers and on up. I don't think he ever killed any single digit kids.
And he was a gay man, really. So he was picking up these young boys, and
would play these sex games with him when you get him down in the basement. He'd be like, he'd lure him down by saying, there was this adult, and he'd lure him down by saying, you can come to my house and you can smoke drugs, you can watch porno movies and all that, and they're all like, yeah. They get there, and he had this game that he would play with handcuffs, and he was like, I got these trick handcuffs, I want to see if you can get out of them, and he'd put them in the handcuffs, and of course they couldn't get out because they were real handcuffs, and he'd had the key, and then he had this thing about asphyxiation. He would start choking them with like a scarf or something like this or another, and then knock them out and stuff like this. And I don't know if he did any sexual stuff to their body while they were knocked out or anything like that, but like what Shah was saying, like with him being gay, I think some of these boys were gay. Some of the strays that he picked up, the runaways, and would lure them in with like, you know, the promise of, you know, I'll pay you for some gay sex or something like this maybe. But say here's the kicker, right? When he got caught, he was so adamant in saying that he wasn't homosexual. Like he really wanted to put that out there. I'm not gay. I'm not gay. And it's just like
there's dead bodies under my
all boys for the most part. I don't think he killed any girls.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like that's interesting. You know, when you go into like the psyche of a serial killer, that reminds me of. I think I had talked about that show Hollywood that I was watching.
I've seen it.
And so there was this guy that was like, he was a gay guy, and it's like, but he was abusing these people in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how are you that, and you know what you went through, and then now you killing these kids? You know, like what's
sometimes it's different. It's different things, right? Because like, you know, there is actually a segment on what they call. And it's not to isolate it because of their sexual orientation, but just talking about like the homosexual killer element.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like there was kind of like this homosexual or homoeroticism between the Beltway killers. Yeah, there were these two, it was this black guy, I forget his name, Muhammad Samad, and he had this young kid with him. And they said they had more of a father-son thing, but then the more they dove into it, it could have been more of a like, you know, just a dominant and subservient figure, but they had more of a homosexual thing. But that doesn't mean that's why they were killers or anything like that. There's just like levels to it, because like with Dahmer, for example, he would sometimes go out to bars and pose like he was a photographer, and would tell these gay guys, "I come home and pay you to take pictures of you. I think you're attractive," and this, that, and the other. You know, maybe he said something to the effect that he took pictures for, you know, gay magazines or whatever, hired to sell it, to get them to come to his home.
But you gotta have a mouthpiece, though. It's like, you know, you think Dahmer, I think like, you know, Weird Cat, but for him to have a mouthpiece like that to get you to come back to the crib?
He wasn't a charismatic.
He was a weird guy.
Okay.
He was not charismatic.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy, though.
Ted Bundy was
That
charismatic.
man,
He got like college girls and stuff like that.
And he had a wife at the crib. Like,
yeah, when he was in prison, a woman married him and he had a child.
Yeah. Oh shit.
And you know what? He was the first serial.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
He was the first serial killer that went across jurisdiction lines. At least in, you know, again in America. I always put emphasis on American history because there's other things in other countries. But in American history, he was the first that didn't just kill only in his comfort zone.
Yo, sorry. So have y'all ever seen High School Musical?
I've heard of it.
All right, so it came out when I was in like 6th grade or whatever, and this guy Zac Efron plays in it, and then I can't remember the woman's name that plays in it, but he plays Ted Bundy in the movie with Ted Bundy. He goes from High School Musical to Ted Bundy, and it's just like, you know, when I see him, all I can see is the High School Musical guy. So it was weird watching that, you know. But
I think he's the one that played the guy that killed John Lennon.
really,
Mark Chapman, yeah.
Mark David Chapman. Yeah.
oh shit, he's a really great actor. But just like in the like, how these people like, you know, like it's almost like they have split personality disorders. You know what I'm saying? When I watch the movie,
you know, that's the
Okay,
thing.
but that is what an actor is.
No. I'm saying it's like Ted Bundy did, because, like, at least how they portrayed it in that movie, he'd go home to his wife, and it's like, I mean,
He never went home to his wife.
in the movie he had a wife, and he kept
Well,
going
see,
home to her.
what you're talking about.
He married his wife in prison.
He
you
had
have-
a
you have-
black-haired girlfriend.
Yeah, well, okay, and then when she died, a lot of the people he killed looked like her or something to that effect.
And he had children with her
And,
too,
and I
correct?
think I don't think he had any kids.
He only had a kid with the girl he married.
So then the movie is a little bit off.
No. I mean, no. Like what Hunter just said, I think he did have a kid. I don't think he had any relationship with her or anything. Maybe.
Well, okay, I know who you're talking about. The girl that you're talking about was his girlfriend. She had a kid,
Oh, okay.
not his kid though.
Okay, yeah. But he would go to her, and it's like, but then he would go on these trips, and it was just like, it was almost like two
And
different
he
people.
brutally
Hey.
murdered those girls. Like he would bash their heads in, and like it was with malice.
Yeah.
He didn't just shoot them or just stab them once into some
Keep
vital
in
area.
mind, like Troy calls me a sociopath or a psychopath, like jokingly. That literally means they lack the emotion to feel love and hate. I mean, they feel hate. Like that's one of the biggest things they feel.
Well, you know,
But they're immaculate liars.
yeah, and it's not so much. You know, it's like there is a reward factor for them in terms of the gratification that they get from their kills.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, for example, like in the case of, say, Dahmer, you know, there was an attachment. He didn't want his people, he had a fear of people leaving him for whatever reasons and stuff, if you dig into his mind. but he definitely had that fear, and so that was the trophy factor. You know what I'm saying? Keeping these skulls, keeping dead bodies, consuming the bodies. You know what I'm saying? Consuming parts of the bodies and stuff as a way of keeping them. You know, this fear of losing them. So there was this almost this weird attachment to his kill. You know what I'm saying? And it's not in that, you know, romanticized way in terms of how they played it in certain dark movies where, you know, we consume our kill to gain their strength kind of shit. It wasn't like that with him. It wasn't gaining anything from them except their presence.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever want to lose you, Scooby, so I'm going to fucking eat you. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. And you'll be a part of my body. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I kind of thought about doing that. I'm gonna kill Scooby and Hunter, and I'm gonna consume him. Now, when I kill Hunter, though, I'm gonna consume him, and it has to be fine dining because he's a chef. So you know, there's gonna be some, you know, like Hannibal Lecter fava beans and
Well,
Hennessy sauce.
some Hennessy sauce.
I have to say, I have to bring this part into it. The women serial killers.
But okay, so when we were talking about H.H. Holmes, but I don't know what happened. I stopped, but I was about to mention the nurse. I forget her name.
The nurse.
If you could look her up, she was killing during Taupin, maybe Taupin, Topin or something. But she's considered the angel of death or something like this.
Jane Japan.
Yeah, and she just went around like injecting people with poison and would like lay it with the people
It was more of a
and watch them
passive-aggressive.
die.
She looks freaky.
Yeah, and dude, I'm talking about, you know, poison you and then hug you and just look in your
And hug
eyes
you,
while
yeah.
you're dying from some antidote, and did that over and over. And guess what one of her quotes was? I want to be known as the greatest killer, male or female, of all time.
Wow.
Well, I don't think she used the word serial killer. I don't think that was the term, but you know, she said murderer or killer or something like that.
Oh, there are
She
people.
confessed to 31.
Wow.
Confessed! Like, bruh.
And usually,
And the reason why I bring her up, because she was considered one of those people that was supposed to have been born with it. Yeah.
usually when women kill is more passive aggressive, poisonings. You know, when men would kill, like how you said, that anger blunt.
Up close and personal.
Yeah.
But then there's those things like what happened to the old girl that got executed under
Eileen
George.
Warren.
Yeah, they got under George W. Bush's tenure there in Texas, and you know, I think the initial first murder, if according to the movie that whatever her name was in.
Eileen, the woman.
Yeah, I forget her name, the
The
actress
actress.
that played her. But anyway, Monster or something like that, I think was the name of the movie. But it was about Eileen Warren's story. And like the first murder, she was like a prostitute, and I think it was like to protect herself from some John or something or whatever, some sex thing gone wrong or something or another, and she killed.
And now a message from our sponsor. Man, I hope this podcast does good today, man. It's gonna be very good.
Too, man. Oh man, look at Scooby, is always sleeping, man.
Man, he's always sleeping. Like, wake your butt up, you happy little camper.
Man, what's going on with you, baby?
That was good, man. My neck is kind of hurting, bro, and I couldn't find a remote last night.
Oh really? Huh?
Well, have you ever tried cherry blossom pillows?
Have you ever lost your remote on the couch?
Do you ever just need a spot to put your book in?
Do you ever just need a place to rest your head?
So if you need a pillow with a special pocket, Cherry Blossom Design has the right thing for you. Head on down to their Etsy store and use code BRIDGETHEGAP to get $5 off an order of 2 or more.
In that regard, but because of her angst for guys, because of guys, I guess how guys treated her, you know, which I think she turned out to be, I think, bisexual or something like that, you know. But she preferred women, like the woman that I think she that accompanied her throughout a lot of these murders later on was someone that she picked up along the way. You know what I'm saying? She preferred the woman's company, but used men as John's. Like, you know, I don't know if there was any attachment to the sexual aspect of it. If she got anything out of that, it was just like that's a John. But I think that was how
she
her
was
first
straight
thing went
robbing
down.
them.
Yeah, she just like was robbing these cats,
What about
but then
Bonnie?
it went to murder.
Bonnie from Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde were bank robbers.
They weren't
But-
serial killers.
But I mean, they killed a lot of people. I would argue, like, from what I heard
That's a
about
good
Bonnie,
point,
she was
though,
savage.
yeah.
She was out there just like dropping bodies on
Well,
their head.
okay, so now we have to define serial killing, right?
Okay.
Because you know there's an modus operandi, a way of operating. and their way of operation was robbing banks with not the intent to kill, except
they
to
don't have the
defend.
intent.
They were not going in going, we're strategically going to shoot them so many times, or we're going to leave a certain thing to say we killed them. Like the Zodiac Killer would like antagonize. That's another guy I want to really definitely get into. He's someone like the Jack the Ripper type. No one knows who he was. He got away with it, shot a whole bunch of people, killed people there in San Francisco, I think during the late 60s or something like that. But again, like,
is that the son of Sam? Is that the same?
That's
the guy that talked to his dog.
Yeah,
Okay,
David Berkowitz out in New York. But they were killing during the same time, and they both had the same way of operating. They shot people.
Oh.
You know, would go up and just shoot you and stuff like that, and they were killing around the same time.
You got that boy about the son of Sam.
Oh yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, my mind don't crack like the son of Sam. Yeah, that's what I'm making a reference to. You know, this man thought that his dog was telling him to do what he was, you know, to tell, you know, my dog.
Hey, Billy, remember what George Carlin said? How come these voices always tell you to kill somebody? How come it doesn't
don't tell you to do some weird shit, like go take a shit at the salad bar at Denny's. Like, you know. Yeah, George Carlin's a trip. Because that is true, man. It's like when these people go to their so-called voices, no, I shouldn't say so-called. I mean, in a lot of cases, these people are schizophrenic.
They are
hearing
cracked,
shit.
like you said. Something
But
is cracked.
it's never nothing. Like, where's the guy that the voice told him to start a business? You know what I'm saying? Why the hell it's always got to be, no, go butcher people. It didn't tell you to go open up a bank account. You know what I'm saying? Go invest in the stock market. Like, you know, why don't these voices say that shit?
Those voices aren't. Those people aren't like wanting to tell people about their voices. They're like, go make this investment. Okay, then they get $1 million. Like, well, why'd you do that? The voice.
The voice in my head told me to go out and make that investment that day.
And then you locked up and you in padded walls and shit.
Hey, dude. And see, that's the thing, right? You know, I think that's why there's a study on the mind of serial killing, because the fascination is how we all feel like we walk that fine line on what is our breaking point. Like, you know, I've always said in my mind, you know, or rather for me, and I think a lot of people could attest to this, like if you witness the murder of your family member right before you, and the guy right there for a minute was vulnerable and you could do something, you would just go into rage and just, it wouldn't just be, you know, like you would try to brutalize.
Yeah.
Like it would be a brutal murder, you know, like everybody would imagine like, yeah, this motherfucker killing my mom, dad, sister, you know what I'm saying? I will brutally, and so that, and I think it's,
suffer.
Yeah, suffer. Like it's not gonna be a quick death and we all go there. Now see, okay, so it's saying that, right? I think the fascination is that the serial killer takes it there. Every time though. Like how we will go, well, it would take for me something extreme, like, you know, somebody murdering my family, then I would go blitz.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Dahmer's like, nah, man, it just takes me going out to the bar and buying somebody a drink. You know what I'm saying? And saying, I'll take pictures of you.
I have to mention this, and I hate to say it like this, but one of my favorite serial killers is the BTK killer.
Okay, which
Now,
stood
he's
for
one that
bind, torture, kill.
Yeah,
Bind, torture,
I
kill.
have the movie, so you know.
And he was also known as the Greensboro Killer or something like that. I think the area where he was killing at.
Greensboro, North Carolina.
No, he was in Kansas, somewhere in Kansas.
They caught him within
state
the
or
last
the-
decade or so.
Yeah.
He had been eluding
But he
authorities for
stalked
years.
people. He would watch them maybe even for a year or so.
And he
actually-
would go in and like do the torture thing that we all fear. You know, like say if it's a family, you know, tie up the wife and the father and the kids, and then maybe untie the father and start torturing the father in front of the kids.
Yeah.
You know, so or rape the mother. I don't know if he raped, but you know,
No, he
definitely
raped.
killed.
He raped.
Oh, okay. Well, he would do that in front of the family, though. Like that much more. It's like it's not enough for this guy to kill. He wants an audience, and the audience has to be an intimate audience.
Yeah.
Preferably their relatives. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just another level of sickness.
It reminds me of that Nicolas Cage movie with I think Ashton Kutcher's in it. It's Nicolas Cage and Ashton Kutcher. Nicolas Cage is a murderer. He got a wife, but he goes and he does that. You know what I'm saying? He ties up the whole family, wraps the whole entire room in plastic. He doesn't really torture him, but he just wakes them up and then just shoots them all and then leaves.
Wow.
And like they can't he's so like methodical with it, like Shah said, stalking them for months on end, and know exactly like what to do. Like they watch the neighbor and make sure they know the neighbor does this at a certain time so I can use this room, and it was
Casing them.
yeah, and it's like how do you catch a guy like that? You know, like
Well, one of the things about
That's the frustrating
BTK,
thing about psychopaths.
but eventually it's like they're human too, and they mess up. And these cops, they spend their lives, they spend every moment. So a lot of when it came to him, he actually just messed up. He was one of those guys that was kind of disappeared, but he needed the attention.
It's kind of like, what happened with the Unabomber. He was killing from afar, and he had gotten away with it for like 13, 14 years, sending bombs to various things. And he had this whole thing about like technology taking over and geneticists doing things with our bodies. And, he was a part of this thing called the MK Ultra program, where they did things with the mind and all this, that, and the other. This very clandestine government operative thing or something that got shut down some years ago. At least they tell us that. But at any rate, I think some of that remote viewing and stuff like this, and you remember that movie about something about goats is in the title, but they would knock out goats with their mind.
Goats?
Yeah,
that's a fucking fantastic movie.
But it's based off of shit like that, MK Ultra and all these kinds of things, And so, at any rate,
I think it's real.
Ted Kaczynski, who was the Unabomber, was apparently a part of MK Ultra. He was like this mad genius, had a high IQ, this and that and the other. But he would send these really crazy bombs to various people in the biological field, geneticists, scientists, and this, that, and the other. And his arrogance finally broke through. Like Shai say, they're gonna slip. This motherfucker sent in like a 50,000 word manifesto
like
to
the
like
BTK.
to one of the major rags like Time magazine or something like this or another. And I think it was his brother that recognized the language.
His brother and his wife. His brother and his brother's wife.
It's like, that's my bro, man. And so they find his ass living out in the middle of the damn woods.
Yeah.
Off the grid. That's why he hadn't been caught. He was off the grid, man.
And when you look at his past, he was a nice, handsome guy that was extremely smart. He could have been working at NASA. He could have been just, but
it's like Bill saying, if it was some like, imagine being that smart and then you find out it's like
the government's doing the shit that they're doing.
Yeah, and then it's like, but you can't do shit about it. It's like it doesn't matter how smart you are. It's like
guess what?
Wasn't he a part of a government?
What's that MK Ultra? That's what I was talking about. It's like, so it's argued that his breaking point was that because again, consider who I just said his targets were. You know what I'm saying? People that are doing all these dubious things, or at least presumably.
Yeah, he really heard those voices.
And heard those real voices, like up close to person, put faces to them. Like, oh, you're the one that does this and that and the other to our bodies, into the world and science and blah, blah, blah.
If I'm not mistaken, from the MK Ultra, not to go too deep into that, on the conspiracy episode we mentioned yesterday about people giving LSD, and they were doing that in MK Ultra, from what I understand, and they were trying to get mind control. The same person that killed Kennedy was all a part of that MK Ultra, trying to have soldiers that could be controlled. Mind control.
The Kennedy thing, I don't know. I think that's more along the lines of conspiracy theory. It hasn't been verified that Lee Harvey Oswald was...
No, the brother.
The other one.
The brother.
The guy that killed Robert.
The guy that killed Robert Kennedy.
Oh. I've never heard anything like that on a real level. That sounds more conspiracy theory. I've never heard that. But again, it could be.
I don't know.
I do want to say something real quick. I don't like the fact that BTK and BTG sound so similar.
No, man. No doubt. And we're talking about serial killers, and there's varying levels to it, right? Because now I'm going to go to another level with it. Charles Manson.
Oof.
He didn't put his hands on that one victim, but because of him, Sharon Tate's dead. And a whole bunch of other people that out of respect to you, I'm sorry, I can't remember their names. I think one was named Abigail Folger. She was the heiress to the Folger, company and all that.
The coffee folks?
And yeah. And Sharon Tate was a promising actress that was coming up, and she was pregnant, had a baby in her. They cut the baby out. Used her blood. The Manson fucking clan.
Was it like other men, or was it the women?
The women did that.
Oh, shit.
You're talking about ironic.
That's fucking crazy.
And loved it. They never showed remorse for doing that crime.
That's wild.
Not that I know of anyway. There's
and
no
he had such control over them that he would do something, and they were in the women's prison. He's over here. He would do something, and they would follow, like putting that mark on their forehead. They turn around and shaving their head. They shave their head. Yeah,
When you
he
talk about
was-
using LSD, he used LSD as a manipulator.
Yeah,
You know, all
he
they
had
did was
complete
fucking.
control of their minds.
All they did was trip all day out there at that ranch that they were at. It was a Hollywood ranch that they had repurposed as their own little like commune. And there was a shitload of them out there, but only a handful of them were only the killers. You know what I'm saying? Tex, I think, was one of the names. He was one of the main enforcers. He was like a grifter.
Okay,
And,
now just not too long, I didn't really like it, but not too long ago, I saw the movie Hollywood, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt. And have you guys seen
I've
that?
seen it, and the rewrite on that.
I did not like it because it was so brutal.
Yeah, and it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
I know he's been reimagining
watch
stuff
it.
like that, but it's like what Tarantino did when he Glorious Bastards. You know, it would have been great that if Hitler would have actually got it. You know,
Yeah,
some
and it would have been
explosion in a
great if they
theater,
would have
but
got it.
That ain't the way it happened.
It was
but,
so brutal that I couldn't watch it. Yeah.
But yeah, that was just like. But no, man. But you know, the real murders were brutal. Like the real way that they slaughtered those people. I remember reading Helter Skelter years ago. That was actually written by the prosecutor of the case. So you know, it was all the legal what have yous. Everything was
Yeah, I
there.
have that book now.
Yeah, and it's for those of you that are curious. As a matter of fact, for anybody's names out here that we mentioned and stuff, you know, you can look them all up. Jack the Ripper, H.H. Holmes, Ed Gein, which is Gein, the inspiration for Psycho. You all, I imagine, know Jeffrey Dahmer, but there's a lot of other key people. Richard Ramirez, who's the Night Stalker. There's a plethora of them out there. Only out of morbid curiosity should you look these people up. You know, do not look at them for inspiration for shit. You know, fuck them. You know what I'm saying? But you know, hey, we're all into them and stuff for trying to understand what makes you break from the norm. That
And
makes
see what's different about you.
Yeah, like what
why.
happened to you in your human development that you decided to. Say in the case of Dahmer was like everything. He consumed, he killed in brutal fashions. He consumed the bodies. He had sex with the dead bodies, necrophilia.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In one of the cases, I think he like drilled into someone's head and poured acid into the hole. Like
And why would you even think to
you know, if I'm protecting myself, I'm thinking like if I killed you, it's because I shanked you or I shot you. I'm not thinking, yeah, I'm gonna sit you down. I'm gonna drill like fucking these people. And then, but that ain't it with him though, because now he's gonna probably have his liver for dinner that night, and then you know, fuck his dead body. I mean,
it's like what is like, you know.
And then you meet their parents, and it's like his dad was a dentist and his mom was a homemaker. So what? Didn't have any siblings, so he didn't get beat up by some older sibling or something. Did he have siblings?
Maybe his sister, because I thought his family changed their names. They're not Dahmers.
I don't. Okay, maybe you're right, but I don't know of his sister. I've seen his mom and dad speaking in interviews, and it's sad to see them have to speak about their boy.
He had a brother named David Dahmer.
Okay.
David Dahmer.
But like, you know, it's sad when you see them talk because it's like you can see it in their face. Sorry about that, everyone. Our phone died there, our battery died and stuff with our camera and everything. So, you know, we'll have to continue this in a part 2. So y'all make sure to stay tuned for that.
We do have to end on rapid fire though, and I only got one. Question.
All right.
Who is your favorite serial killer? I know me and Shy have answered that, but who is your favorite serial killer?
Oh, wow. I know that's kind of a crazy question, y'all, but you know, hey, whatever. Now, this is going to sound weird. This is not, God, my favorite. The most interesting serial killer to me.
I guess that's how I should have phrased
Yeah,
it.
no, actually, but you said it in a way that would, most of us would say, is Jeffrey Dahmer. Because he's everything that all the other serial killers were. He was the cacophony of all of it. It's like, well, this guy, he did this. Oh, but this guy, he did this. Well, he did it. Dahmer, he did it all. Yeah. He's the fucking Michael Jordan of serial killers, bro. So, yeah, there it is.
I probably have to go with Manson, just because it's like, he seemed just kind of mafioso with it. Like, you know, he didn't commit any of the crimes. It's
he was
just
not mafioso.
No. You see what I'm saying? Just like you see what I mean. Just
I know
like,
what you mean. The manipulation.
Yeah, it's
shot
like,
caller.
Shot caller. Yeah, that's what's interesting to me about him is like, you know, especially when you just said his mom sold him for liquor. I was like, damn, bro. It's like I see where your hatred's coming from a little bit. Like, I do not agree with what you did, but it's like.
But does that give him an excuse to, you know, one of his first, not victims, but you know, he raped a guy when he was in juvie.
Oh no.
You know, so
that's
he
some
started
weird
kind of
shit.
early. But anyway,
That's-
again, follow for next
Yeah.
time.
Inspiration.
Mason,
Nice.
Mason, his favorite. Who's your favorite?
It's a mix between Jack the Ripper and Ted Bundy.
Jack the Ripper and Ted Bundy. Shy.
I guess I have to stick with the BTK right now.
Yeah, Shy's been with the BTK.
Yeah.
So, and then, well, we already have a comment thing, because I was going to say, put in the comments who your favorite is.
I mean, go ahead, put in the comments your favorite. But the contest this week, tell us how your week has been.
In about 2 weeks from now, we're going to do a follow-up to serial killers.
Especially since we let the phone
Because
die.
we
I'm
only
ashamed
have
of that.
just scratched the surface. There's many to go, and there's a lot of popular ones that I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, why didn't they mention this person, that person? We'll try to get to them. But until next time, thank you for watching Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Mac. And Abigail. Yeah, they keep forgetting about me. Yeah, we'll get to you, Gab. This was a really, really, sensitive topic.
See, Abigail's going to turn into a serial killer because we've been...
Yeah, man, the neglect. It's
Yeah.
the neglect.
Uh-huh.
All right, y'all, we'll catch y'all next time.
What's up, guys? It is Chef Mac here. It is currently 12:08 on a Wednesday, and the podcast has not been edited yet. I just wanted to apologize for it being late. As you can see, I'm exhausted. I did some schoolwork when I got home after recording last night, and then laid down on my couch and passed out. I slept until an hour ago. I got up, I was sweaty, I showered, and I'm about to edit the podcast, so I don't know how it's gonna look. So if it doesn't look as great as the past couple have been, I'm sorry about that, but hopefully I can get it edited and uploaded within the next couple of hours, hopefully by 2 at the latest, because that's when I have to go to work. So I will see y'all next week, where hopefully we get it done on time. So see y'all then.